All right. So again, this will be a
Yeah, I
open.
can hear you, Clarence. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, this will be another open forum tonight. Talk about a few things. I know Jeff said he got some plays and some things he wants to show, and we have some discussions about. Feel free to chime in. And again, if you guys got any questions about anything that's been going on as far as rules, any maybe scenarios or things that you guys have experienced during your games that you'd like to talk about, feel free to jump in or just type it in the chat and let us know if it's something we can give you some advice on or some help on. Again, that's the purpose of the call, is to make sure that we try to take advantage of this opportunity to answer any questions and to help people with any situations that they may have encountered. Uh, okay, Johnny said you like to review shot clock basics at some point. Okay, great. Yeah, I think Jeff has some shot clock plays, right, Jeff? You're muted, Jeff. You're still muted.
Oh, okay. I was on mute.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I do have some shot clock plays. I mean, from the weekend, obviously,
Okay.
um, uh, and some other type of shot clock plays if you are interested in specific situations that are related to it.
Yeah, and just
So
as a review, since you mentioned shot clock, let me just show the link to the website. um, just so you guys will know where to find it. When you go to the IHSA website, you can click on sports and activities here. You can click either boys or girls basketball. When you click it, go to the resource tab, which is right here, second to the last. And if you scroll down, this is the resources and information page. But if you scroll down, you'll see the information for the shot clock, which is towards the bottom. So this area down here. So all of these documents that you see down here are all related to shot clock. So you can click on the link and see the information in a PDF format. So
That's
you can
nice.
download,
Cool.
save the information if need be. Again, the same information that's on the boys and girls side, but again, I strongly encourage you to get familiar with the rules. Um, and the reason being is because obviously these are the rules that we're using now. And until at least for this season, there haven't been any changes because the rules just recently came out. But we know that the basketball advisory committee will meet in April. We're not sure if there may be any minor changes to the rules for next season, but as of now, this is where you would find that information. So again, feel free to go to the IHSA website and review those documents and the rules. So again, if you have questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Now, I will say this too: Jeff will show some plays, or we may show some plays throughout our trainings that are going to be in relationship to these various rules. So again, the more you kind of have these memorized, it'll make it a little easier once we start showing the video clips and things like that. Also, we know that there will be, I know Gary's going to kind of have a push to encourage all of the clinics and the clinicians to incorporate some form of shot clock into uh, their clinics during the clinic season. So make sure that you, again, get familiar with that information and the rules, because a lot of this stuff will be kind of pushed a little bit heavier as we get closer to next season. All right. Any questions about that?
how about let me start by showing a play or two.
Okay.
Um, because it might be easier if I just show some plays since we're going kind of that was right off the bat with being asked.
Sounds great.
Hold on. I mean,
And again, if you guys got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. This is an open forum discussion. We're more than happy to, answer any questions. If you want to unmute, just let us know. But if you want to also just put something in the chat, we'll answer it. We'll come back, double back over and answer it in the chat as well.
hold on. Let me see if I can get.
If you guys hear a buzzing sound in the background, that's probably my phone because it's right next to the speaker. So just disregard that, please.
This isn't a question, it's just an observation. But,
I officiated over at Proviso West the last couple of days, not today, but and the last three they made a shot. This year they didn't, and I don't know if it was malfunctioning or not. I could never get an answer, but I would think that they wanted it because next year it's in play. But I just thought that was interesting.
No, they didn't do it anytime.
Yeah, they didn't use shot clock this year,
They didn't use shot clock this year.
which I thought was kind of unusual too, because they normally
Yeah,
they normally
right. I just thought it was strange, but
yeah. But either way,
Okay.
I'm still clock management is something that we can always work on,
for
even
sure.
if it's just a game clock without the shot clock. Like I said, just get familiar with the various tips we've shared in the past, and we'll continue to share. Perfect example, let's say A just scored a basket, B's taking the ball out of bounds. If you are the new trail official getting ready to inbound the ball, take a quick look at the clock. If you have shot clock, take a look at that. If you can, if not, again, if it's a game clock, if you can see it, some gyms only have one clock, some have two, what have you. But if you can take a look at the clock, uh, and this is for everybody on the crew, not just the trail, but really everybody on the crew. If you can take a look at that clock before the ball's inbounded to know how much time is on the clock, maybe by the time you get to the free throw line extended in the backcourt, again, if you can, take a look by the time you cross half court. Again, if you can, take a look. We know sometimes there may be defensive pressure, so the trail may not get a chance to look at the clock, but the lead or the center, if it's a three-person crew, again, you can help your trail out by being clock aware of how much time was on the clock based on the inbounds, based on when the ball was at the free throw line extended in the backcourt, and then maybe by the time the ball crosses the half court or division line. Again, those tips will help to manage the shot clock once it becomes into play. But even just as far as aware of just getting in the habit of doing it every possession, no matter which team is taking the ball out of bounds, it's just a good practice to have. And so again, that'll kind of tie into some of the things that Jeff is going to show with some of the plays as well. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. Let's start off. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see the screen, first of all?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you optimize?
Okay. All right. Yeah. This is the start the game, and this is a shot clock game, so you can't see it right at this moment. So let me play this, and I want to talk about
Giant
what are we going to
Boblik
do with the
will be
clock.
on the tip-off. It'll go South Elton's way.
Early.
Okay. So first of all, let me ask this question. Not necessarily a shot clock violation situation. Why is this a violation?
Raise your hand, please, so we don't have multiple people talking at
He
one time.
caught the ball inside the circle. He can tap it twice. He can't catch it.
I guess South End is not going to like that foul, but
Is
Okay.
that the rule?
Is that the rule?
Are we sure? Anybody else got anything different than what Mike just said?
He can only tap it twice, but for him to secure the ball got to hit the ground first, and it didn't hit the ground, so he can't retain possession of the ball
Is the ground the only thing that the ball can hit in order for it
So
to?
it can hit another player too.
or another player. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me ask this question. So since we're kind of all over the place, what ends the restrictions for the throw for the jumper? I want to make sure we cover them all.
That ends the restriction. The one of the players have to touch the ball. The other player has to touch the ball.
What player has to touch the ball?
If
Let's
you
be specific.
One of his teammates
Outside of the
besides the jumper.
A non-jumper?
Yes.
Okay. Non-jumper is one of the rules. Yes. That's one of them. What's the second one?
pull out your rule books if you got them, it'll make it a lot easier than guessing.
Because this is something we got to understand regardless. This ain't necessarily, this part is not a shot clock situation. This is a rule situation with the jump ball.
And this is something that we need to be aware of every game when we start it.
Because this can happen. This doesn't happen very often, but when it does, and I can even tell you a little funny story about this situation. So I'll be specific. It can hit a non-jumper. It can hit the floor. It can hit the official. And they used to kind of have it in the rule where it could hit the backboard or the rim, but that's almost impossible now. in most situations. But if it hits one of those, the floor, non-jumper, official, then the jumpers are allowed to get the ball. That's simple. The reason this is and also it's a violation if the jumpers hit it 3 times. They can hit it twice, but they can't hit it 3. Now, I've only seen the 3-time one time in my career. So that's not something you got to worry so much about. But if you know the rule, that it helps. So we have a violation, and red is violated because they caught the ball. Doesn't matter if they caught it in the circle. If it hit the floor, they could go get it, but they can't catch it unless it hits the floor, another player, or an official. Okay, so keep that in mind. So because we have a violation, where are we putting the ball?
And
Don't know.
white
Opposite
front
table
court.
at the
Say that. Well, one person. I didn't hear. I heard part of what somebody said.
Ronald, go ahead, Ronald.
Oh, I was saying because we were gonna put it in. You said the foul, the touch was off red. The violation was on red 25, so we're gonna put it in
Yeah, they caught the ball.
White's front court.
Okay, where in White's front court?
Now that I'm not for sure if it's gonna be table side or across. I don't know. I'm
28
not
foot
gonna lie.
line.
Who said that?
28-foot line.
And why would it be at the 28-foot line?
Because it was in the front court. I mean, because the violation was on red, so it goes to white, and it would be in the white front court. So it would be I feel it'd be at the 28-foot line.
Okay.
Yeah,
but,
I knew that, but does it go to the table side or across?
well,
That's what I'm
well,
just confused.
hold on. Why at the 28-foot line though?
Guess it was outside of the 3-point circle.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking all of this, because you need to know this. Because what if somebody said, no, it has to go in the front court? It doesn't matter where it goes. It's where the violation took place. So the violation took place outside the 3-point line. So it goes to the front court in the front court at the 28-foot mark. If the violation took place, and I can't think of it how it would happen, but let's say he caught the ball, it was just tipped up in the air, and he went and goes and gets it at the free throw circle, 3-foot line. That's key. Now, does this happen all the time? Absolutely not. But this is why we got to be ready. And I'm kind of laughing a little bit because the referee on this particular game, who I've known for a long time, gave me a look that if you just know his personality, it was kind of funny at the time because of the way he looked at me. Like, are we gonna call this violation, basically? Because it took a minute to process. Because I was like, wait a minute, he just caught the ball, making sure he didn't hit nobody, whatever. You also want to be sure because it's possible this could have touched somebody, but it didn't. He just literally caught it after it was touched. So it's definitely a violation of red. It would be in White's front court. Now, let's add the shot clock element to it. What are we doing with the shot clock?
since it's in, I think since it's in the front court, we would set it at 20.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that?
Jeff, do me a favor. I know you kind of answered this question, but before you go on to the next statement, can you go back to the beginning of the toss and explain when does the game clock and shot clock start?
Okay. Well, so for tipping purposes, so we're tipping the ball. When does the clock legally start?
As soon as one of the jumpers taps the ball. Right
Okay.
there.
Okay, it's jumping for some reason. Okay. Yes, it's when the jumpers tap the ball. And if you look at the referee or the U1 that is standing right here, oh God, it's jumping. It is supposed to start when they touch the ball. So not when there's possession. I don't want people to get that caught up into thinking Possession has to take place. That's when the clock starts. Now let me ask this. When does the shot clock start?
When they have possession.
When there's possession by either one of the teams. Not what if they just touch the ball? Does it start? Should we have a couple seconds go off?
No.
Okay. It starts
That's
when
possession.
possession. So the shot clock and the game clock at a jump ball never starts at the same time. Almost never.
Yep.
Because somebody's got to touch the ball by rule, and then somebody's got to put the ball in play or have possession. So that's the time that we start. So the reason that this is important is because, and I'll help you out on this one. I don't know why it is so jumpy right now. It is jumpy on my end. So when we're about to put the ball in play, look where we're about to put the ball in play.
South End is not going to like that foul, but it'll be Fenwick ball here to start.
And it's jumping around, so I'm not sure if I can stop it when. I'll help you out. He puts the ball right here. Is that the 28-foot mark? Can everybody see that?
No.
Okay.
You can see it? No.
No. So he puts the ball in play here. Now, this is where we got to slow down because also the clock is not proper. If you can't see it at this moment, the clock is at 35. The clock starts at 35, and we have to stop it. And that's why I was trying to show this video. I don't know why it's so jumpy, but
Nobody give a fuck about why it's so jumpy.
See if you can start it. I mean, stop it. Stop sharing and reshare again. Maybe that might help.
Okay, maybe I'll just do that again because it's jumping around.
Y'all been on this one question, one play for 50.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Okay, maybe this will help. Oh. Okay, does that look a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we put the ball in the wrong spot, and then the clock is incorrect. So we have to stop everything because you could really hard to see.
I saw that 7:57, but I didn't see the shot clock. It was too close.
The shot clock was put originally at 35 when he hands the ball to the thrower. So my point is that we have to slow down and make sure that the clock is where it's supposed to be, because we should know as a crew where the ball is going to be placed properly and where the shot clock is going to be related to that particular situation.
Okay.
So that's what the gist of this. And I'm sorry, the video's now just a little
You're
better
muted,
now.
Jeff. I'm not sure what happened.
I'm muted.
No, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go to another play that's shot clock related. Let me go to another play that's shot clock related. Okay.
Hold on, let me see if I can take the co-host away and give it back to you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah. What's the issue now?
Hold on. Let me see if I can revoke the co-host permission for a second. Stop sharing for a second.
Okay, because I can hear everybody. I can see everybody. Can you see this other video?
You just went mute for a second.
Or maybe you can't see. Did you stop sharing?
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just trying to see if I'm sharing my screen.
I can't hear you for some reason.
He can't hear you, Jeff, but we can hear you.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. I thought everybody.
You guys hear Jeff? Anybody else hear Jeff?
Yes.
I think it's you, Clarence, talking here.
Yeah, he needs it, but he can't hear us either. So how is he gonna?
Yeah, he can't hear us. Okay. Okay.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Right. Well, I don't know. I kind of need this one. Hey, can everybody see my screen though? Now.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we'll try to go to something else. Okay. So here's another play. Now this is kind of why we have to have clock awareness. Look at the clock. 6 seconds on the clock. This is in a possession, and I'm gonna let this play out.
Yeah, Coop said he can't hear us. I text him, he can't hear us.
Okay. So did everybody see what happened on this play?
Yes.
We have a shot, misses the rim, and then we have a violation and a held ball kind of called at the same time. So we have to be really good aware of what the clock situation is. Now, there could be a debate about what happened first. Like, did we have a held ball? Did we have a jump ball? A violation. We could
Shot
debate
clock
that.
violation. Yep.
Right. But I think in this case, this was a good job of just going with the violation because the only way now, if we did call the held ball, where would we put the clock?
Well, if white, it's in their backcourt, so 35.
What if black gets the ball?
Then it would be 20.
Okay, why would it be 20?
It's in the front court, and well, I know it was at 0, but I think when
No,
it's
it,
in
it
the front
would it would
court,
go
it's
to
20.
it would go to wherever the last time on the shot clock was if we're staying in the front court.
Ball never hit the rim.
Right.
Right.
So
So how can it be at 20?
Well, because if we're saying there was a violation, there was some time left on the shot clock.
So if the violation is for just some time, we automatically go to 20?
Not automatically, but if black is getting it and it's in their front court, it would go to 20.
That is incorrect. If the ball never hit the rim, we never reset the shot clock.
No reset.
Even okay.
Ball never hit the rim.
So they have like a half a second to get.
If we have a rebound because the ball never hit the rim, and then there's a held ball immediately after. Now this is just in general.
Okay,
The clock would stay where it's at. So the only issue is, do we have a held ball? And then if we were giving the ball to black, and we're being hypothetical here, I don't remember who necessarily had the arrow here, but let's say we were giving this ball to black, we could only give the ball to black, maybe depending on if we determine that this is 1 second is left on the clock. Now, that's the determination of whether you think there's 1 second on the clock. Also, with this clock, even though I do not have the sound turned up, the horn went off, then the whistle for maybe what might have been the held ball. So the horn went off first.
Okay.
So either we would have to determine if there was a second on the clock, or, obviously if white is getting this ball, we're going the other way with a new 35.
Okay.
But the reason I'm saying this is
other than Michael, does anybody else have a question about this play? Anybody other than Michael?
now I have a statement. Do you know why, if it stays in the front court and given to black, why it stays at that number? If we already talked about it and said it was 1 second left on the clock.
That's an exception to the shot clock reset.
No, it never changed possession. That's why. Because it stays in the possession. The AP error was going to black anyway, if that was the case.
And I believe it was, but I'm just asking before so that we understand. Let's just make this clear, guys. The ball never hits the rim. So we can never have a reset when the ball never hits the rim. The only way we could have a reset is if we deemed white had possession first, then there was a held ball. But that's a decision you have to make. It appears in this particular case that white has that nobody has possession, they both go for the ball almost at the same time. Matter of fact, I can make a case black even has it first in this particular play.
Okay, yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is we have to be clock aware of this, because if we're going to do anything and we're giving this ball to black, are we going to do anything other than call a violation, a shot clock violation? And that's what you have to think of, because they did not hit the ball with the rim. So this is part of what we have to be aware of with the clock. And this particular clock, really, they did a really good job. I saw many games with them over this tournament. They really did not reset a lot. So, but what if they did? So we have to be aware of those situations. That's why that's important.
Okay.
And then obviously the trail saying, no, well, despite all of that, we have a violation and we have to go with that violation. So that's another little wrinkle. Any questions about that? All right, let me find another play. Or any other questions related to the shot clock. Let's do that.
So that means everybody's ready to work shot clock, huh?
Okay, let me show another play
When we're on the court,
that's clock related, not necessarily shot clock related, but it's clock related. Now, let me ask this question. By rule, when does a quarter, half, or game end?
when
When the horn of the score, the horn or the lights of the rim comes on.
When the
So
ball
let's
becomes
break that
when the,
down.
when the
So
ball
you say
becomes
the
dead.
horn. You
When the
say the
ball becomes
horn.
dead.
Well, hold on. When you say the horn, so give me some examples of when the horn would end the game. Or
Wait,
end the half.
repeat that question again.
When would the horn end the game? Be the signal that the game is officially ended. So this is a two-part question, because it may not end it can end without the horn, or won't end with the horn. But I want to see what ends the game if the horn goes off.
What ends the game when the horn goes off?
Mm-hmm.
When the ball becomes dead and there's no apparent basket can be made.
That's a good one. How about when the horn goes off? Is there a time when the horn blown, the game is not officially over?
When there's a foul called at the end of the game would not be officially over, even if the horn does go off.
Okay. How about with the balls in the air?
Try has to end.
Okay, so if the horn goes off, and I'll just make it simple, horn goes off, there's no shot attempt, that would end the game effectively by rule, at least end the quarter that it is taking place. Obviously, we can have things that happen after, if that can happen, that can be called. But the only way we would even shoot free throws for those things is if the outcome was in question. So in other words, it's a 1 or 2 point game and we shoot free throws, we can shoot free throws that can decide the game. But if it's like a 10-point game, those would not end the game by rule. If the shot is being taken place and the horn goes off while the ball is in the air, the shot we would not know the outcome of the game until the shot is made or missed. It's an obvious make or miss. So the reason I'm kind of want to go over this is because also, let me ask this question. And this is one other question about the time. Is the horn or the clock the thing that we determine that ends the quarter or half or game?
The horn.
The
It
horn.
says signal, illuminates, or sound.
So I'm going to show this play, and I'm going to ask you all, what do you think about this? I don't have a good sound on it. That's one reason I'm not showing this or playing it. The sound was hard to hear. And this is the end of the half. I'm going to show a replay of it.
So repeat the question while you're showing the replay so they'll understand the question.
So it says zeros on this particular diagram.
Yeah.
Okay. That it's in his hand. But what actually ends the game by high school rules is the horn. So if the horn is simultaneous with the clock, that's one thing. But if it isn't, it's the horn that we default to. Okay. And I will, kind of give you a little thing about this. These score bugs are not always accurate. So even if I were to play the sound, it still may not be accurate when it relates to the time on the clock.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the score bug is what we see on the screen where they got the clock and the score.
Right.
And that's pretty much the rule at every level. The officials have to go by the actual horn.
Yes.
In the arena or in the gym, not what we see on the bottom of the screen.
Because even if you watch these games, sometimes they will reset it. They will run the time faster or keep running it or not. So stop it too soon or whatever. They got to adjust it all the time. So if you watch these enough, so this doesn't mean that was the issue, but the issue was whether the horn went off, and they determined in this particular situation that it counted. But when you look at it, it looks maybe very close and whatever, but you cannot determine by this. You have to determine by the horn. So when I have officials that I work with that try to say, well, I'll get a look at the clock and you get a look, the clock is not what determines it. It is the horn. The other thing that can help us, if it's in the arena, if they have the light, if they have some kind of light or light display with the end at the end of or on the basket, that is another determining factor. Now that is actually a visual that we can use. If that goes off and it's in their hand or not in their hand, we can determine whether the shot is good or not. But the point is that this was a very close play. This was contested. It's actually ended up being a 2-point game, but this was a debate, and you can see the coach was actually pretty upset about it and thought, oh, how could that shouldn't have counted and whatever. And I was in the arena live when this happened. It was really hard to determine. I could hardly tell what was first. Now, can they make a crew decision and make this determination? Absolutely. But the official that has this last second shot responsibility, the primary responsibility is the trail or center, which is this individual at opposite the table in a 3-person crew. In a 2-person crew, it's the trail. But if you have other things that you can bring to the table, we can talk about this if we needed to, but they didn't have any other information to give them. And this was a play I actually asked the crew about. But this is how close this is. So what if this was the end of the game? This could be a bigger issue than at the end of the half.
And I don't know, maybe it's me, but it looks like the trail kind of took his eyes off the shooter a little too soon. Maybe I could be wrong, but because I know it's a little choppy, but it looks like he took his eyes off the shooter a little too soon to make sure that shooter, didn't get fouled or had a safe landing space. And that's something we also need to keep in mind, especially, at a last second shot.
You say the trail or the center?
Trail.
Is that the trail? Whoever this is, referee is on the pitch. Oh, so that's a center.
This is the trail right here.
Oh, that's the trail. Okay, yeah.
That's the trail. That's the center.
Yeah. It looked like he took his eyes off the shooter a little too soon, just to make sure there was no contact between those two players in that corner.
Unless they had a discussion with each other and the lead was taking over their spots. That could have been the case too.
Yeah, but that goes back to your pregame as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things to discuss in these plays because these are, one of my pregame items. I talk about this. I say, hey, it's my call, it's your call, whoever this person is. But if I need help, if it's like there's some question about it, let's say this shot is in the corner, that might be very hard for a trail in that situation to see whether that ball's out of his hand, especially on a very close play. So we may have to, so I might say, hey, I need some help, and I may come to you if I need assistance on this play. So there's ways that we can talk about this because, again, we're in the video age now. We don't have a monitor at the high school level, but other levels use the monitor. So why don't we just use each other with what we have to make sure that we get this play right? But again, I'm just emphasizing this one. It's not the clock, it's the horn. And the horn is the only thing that matters. Or unless we have a light, and you should know that when you go to the arena and you're doing your pregame and you're watching all this stuff, that's one of the things you want to pay attention to. Is an LED light on it on the backboard?
Hey Jeff, let me share my screen just for a quick second since we're talking about last second shots. And I'm just sharing this just so everybody knows that this is actually a rule, because I know some people talked about it. And they weren't sure. And I know out of habit, for those of us who've been around a long time, we always blow the whistle at the end of the quarter or end of the half. So this is the 25-27 officials, NFHS officials manual. And they are talking about, hold on, I'm trying to see if I can zoom in so we can read this highlighted area. They're talking about last second shot. So they're saying now, the official should not sound the whistle at the end of a quarter/period unless the try is not released before the sounding of the horn or a violation preceded the release of the try. So this is a new mechanic that they're saying that they want us to implement. Again, those of us who've been around a long time, we hit a horn, we automatically hit the whistle if that's our primary responsibility to end the quarter. I totally get it. Just sharing this information. Again, this is in the 25-27 NFHS Basketball Officials Manual. So again, they're saying that the official should not sound the whistle at the end of the quarter/period unless the try is not released before the sounding of the horn or a violation preceded the release of the try. So layman's terms, they're saying you don't have to blow the whistle unless that situation occurs, okay, or those situations occur. So just wanted to share that as well.
Okay, let's get into another category of plays. Hold on, I guess I'm about to share my screen again.
While you're looking at that, let me kind of scroll through the chat. David has a statement, he says, or a question. He says, I know the IHSA wants common fouls at the end of the game when possible, when the score is too far gone for the team from behind to win. How do you suggest we stop repeated fouling that is just disruptive and a game stopper? Great question.
You want to answer that, Clarence?
You know what? Let me get some out. I can answer, but Andrew, if you don't mind jumping in on that one. If you're still there, Andrew. Soup.
I was trying to get there. What's the question, Clarence?
The question wasn't in the chat. David wants to know, he said, I know the IHSA wants common fouls at the end of the game when possible, when the score is too far gone for the team from behind to win. How do you suggest we stop repeated fouling that is just disruptive and game stoppers?
I'm going to blow my whistle, because if I don't call a foul, A1 is going to foul B1, and B1 is not going to like it. And next time A get the ball, B1 go foul A1 hard as I don't care what. That's hard. You in a hurry to go somewhere, you shouldn't have took the game. They go foul, we go call it, and we go keep the game under control. Any questions?
So in other words, blow the whistle.
I'm going to blow the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to your last question where you talk about, well, ain't a question, it's a rule where they say you don't have to blow your whistle to end the quarter. We got people that can't put their hand up and stop the clock when the ball go out of bounds. You worried about somebody blowing their whistle at the end of a quarter. Come on now, let's be serious. Let's be serious. I'm gonna blow my whistle at the end of if I'm the C away from the table, I'm the trail away from the table, the quarter's over, I'm gonna blow my whistle. I'm not trying to go against what the system say you're supposed to do. For me, just watching people referee, got a lot of people that don't do nothing that the IHSA and the Federation say do. So when we start getting people to follow the rules, then I'll follow the rules. But we got too many people that don't do that. Just like I said, we got people that call fouls and they walk everywhere they go to report a foul. Ain't tried it, ain't gave a stutter step, nothing. The ball go out of bounds, they just point in the direction. They ain't stopped the clock yet. Got a foul. They walking through the lane, through players to report a foul. Just like the first film, we got referees putting the ball in play, not at the 28-foot mark where it go, because they don't know where it go. They doing what they want to do. And we need to do what they asked us to do. And if you ain't gonna do that, then don't look at me and say, well, Snoop did it that way. I was at a couple of tournaments this weekend, along with the CPS tournament, and just saw so many people doing the wrong thing. We get on this Zoom meeting, Clarence, Jeff Rutledge, and whoever else is speaking, try to get us to do the right thing. We can't do that. We can't do that. Without me mentioning nobody's name, only if you go tell on yourself, had a game, asked about a pregame. Out of the three of us, none of us had these teams before, and we decided we're not gonna have a pregame because we don't know we ain't never had the teams. Not acceptable. Mm-hmm. Not acceptable. But like I said, you want to know, and you only ask questions when you see somebody at a game. Here we are on a Zoom meeting, and ain't nobody got a question. But you got a game tomorrow that you go out there and you go do something wrong. And then when they say something to you, you gonna have an attitude about it. If you got a job, they ain't got nothing to do with refereeing, and you're not doing your job, your supervisor go say something to you. And I bet you don't give them the same backlash you give a observer or a supervisor at a basketball game that you refereeing at. People who observe you, people who will critique you, they only go tell you what you're doing wrong. If you're doing something right, they ain't got nothing to say. If you start doing what's right, they ain't got nothing to say. But when you do something wrong, you should take that advice and say, let me work on that. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing, I don't want to hear that. I'm going to do what I want to do. Then do what you want to do. But don't come back, not this year or next year, after a couple of people done retired and say, man, I wish I had asked him, because they ain't got nothing for you. Want to help. I've been ref for 34 years. Hardly ever have I ever had somebody come and say, hey, man, what about this play right here? That's why earlier I asked, who's got a question? Clarence had these meetings and Jeff had these meetings all the time. Ain't nobody got no questions. And those are the same people I see messing up on games. And I ain't got nothing to say. But good luck to you. And those are the same. Now, the state got people out observing you. And guess what? Unlike CPS and some of these tournaments and the referees you work with, they're not going to come up to you and say a thing. They taking notes. And they're going to report back to the people of the state. And then you go wonder why you're not getting playoff games, why you're not going downstate. That's what's going to happen. I've talked too long. Thank you very much.
And just for point of reference, Andrew is a multiple-time state finals official. He's also used to be a signer for the City Colleges of Chicago. So he has experience at the high school and the college level, and even worked some semi-pro basketball before as well. So he's talking from a perspective of experience. And again, we are responsible for doing what the Federation has asked us to do and what the IHSA has asked us to do. Jamila, you got your hand raised?
And I just want to make this also clear that whistleblowing thing, that's a National Federation rule. We, for the most part in Illinois, follow all the National Federation mechanics. There's some exceptions here or there, but If we don't tell you what the exception is, that you're supposed to follow everything that's in that book.
Correct. Jamila, you got your hand raised?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing that Jeff said, and I was going to actually add on the reason why it was probably put in place is because a lot of officials, when they call that, blow their whistle, and a shot is taken, they're actually cutting the shot off and not giving it the ability to, to clear. So that's what I was going to say. And then again, for Mr. Williams, you didn't want to oust anyone, but yeah, it was me and you and Mitch on our game. We did not do a pregame the way you wanted us to do the pregame. So we asked, did any one of us have these teams? None of us, all of us said no, we did not. But I went on and gave a pregame, but for you to say that we did not have a pregame, that is incorrect. We did have a pregame. So I wanted to add that.
All right. Jeff, you had the next play.
Yeah. I got two plays that are kind of flop plays or not flop plays I want to show, and I want to have some discussion. And this is why film work is really important, guys, for your own games, because then you can kind of you can think something happened in your game one way, and then when you see it on film, it looks a little different. So if everybody can see this, and this will be repeated. So what is basically was called live was a flop warning. But the replay, let's look at the replay. There's a replay, yes. Did everybody see what I saw?
Can you go back a little bit further before the
That's not flop. That's offensive foul. He stuck his foot out. That's a foul on the shooter. That's not a flop.
It looks like there was contact on the play.
Watch his right foot.
Right. I was noticed something different.
Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, you say there's contact. Does contact absolve a flop?
No.
No.
Okay. Why? What does the rule say?
What's the word? It has to be damn it. Like a embellishment.
Yes. If we have what we call incidental contact, we can have what we call embellishment, and that means it's incidental, meaning it's not a foul, not foul worthy. It's just incidental, meaning we wouldn't call a foul normally, and they embellish the contact. We can deem that as still a flop. I hear too many officials say, well, there's contact. So what? That doesn't mean anything. That's one element of the play.
Right.
That's not the other. But the other thing is a shooter cannot unnaturally kick out. And if that unnatural kick or unnatural movement causes contact, that can be something else.
So could you
go
say
ahead.
he tripped the?
That's not what you call it, Jeff.
I understand that, but
Okay.
I'm just telling you what the rule says. Okay, because I hear people when I talk about this, and maybe it's because maybe I've been doing college for a little while, because they brought this rule, I believe, in 2017 in college. It never didn't involve contact. Contact was not the reason we called a flop or not called a flop.
Okay.
You call a flop because they embellish what you consider incidental contact. So, but when you look at this play, it looks like he leg kicks. Now, the part that is important is that defender going to contact him otherwise?
It doesn't appear so.
So if he's going to fly by him, and he does an unnatural leg kick, we can consider something else.
A trip, correct?
Well, what kind of foul would it be by rule?
I mean, he's tripping the guy.
But what kind of foul
Player
is it?
control.
What kind of
Player
foul?
control.
Player control.
Exactly.
Player
And
control
why
foul.
Offensive
does
foul.
that matter?
No
What
basket.
happened to
They
the
won't shoot
basket?
free throws.
It's no
No
basket.
basket. The basket win. It's disregard the basket.
Exactly. So the point of the matter is that after looking at this, I'm the one who makes this call.
Yeah.
I thought he flopped initially, but when I saw the video, I thought he clipped him. Now, if he doesn't make now, if let's say he makes contact with him, and let's just say happenstance the defender, still up on the ground, like he lands normally and everything like that, then that's another part we can consider. We can consider whether that's a foul based off of that. But the fact that he kicks him and possibly helps put him on the floor, that probably needs to be a player control foul without question. And not only that, don't penalize the defender. And we're talking about if he's not going to contact him. If he comes at him in the front and he does a leg kick, but he was going to run through his torso, that's not what that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about he's flying by him, which you see a lot of defenders will try to do. They purposely fly by him just to give a small distraction to the shooter so that their concentration is off and they miss the shot. So if I'm not going to be in contact with you, don't penalize the defender, even though we say they're not in legal guarding position. That doesn't matter. They weren't going to contact him. Don't penalize the defender who was doing the right thing. This should have been a player control foul. I'm just being honest.
Okay.
But again, I had to see the film on it to kind of know, like, oh God, that was worse than I thought it was.
And that's a great point.
I thought he just recoiled to kind of prevent himself from getting hit, and this, that, the other, and the way the guy was flying at him, maybe he missed him, but he clearly clips him.
And that's a great point that, we try to encourage everybody, if you can, get video footage of your games, because sometimes you do see some things during the game that may look different when you go back and look at the video, or vice versa. So, if you can, try to get copies of your games, so that you can break down your video review like we're doing tonight, because that's going to really help you get better, especially on, like play like this, because they could actually injure somebody. You can hurt somebody like that as well. So you want to be able to make sure we officiate these plays the proper way.
Now, and also let me make this clear: no coach said a word about this play. There wasn't even a thought process. So don't go look at a film just because a coach complains about something. Look at a film because you think it might be a tough play. And I was thinking, oh yeah, this is clear flop. Matter of fact, I wasn't even gonna call a flop. I was gonna pass on it, but I felt the way he recoiled and the way the antics. I felt like, okay, if we don't call something, I'm gonna be dealing with this all game. And then actually, it didn't happen again, but it probably should have been a player control foul.
All right,
Any
Jeff.
questions? Yes.
Jeff, when you reported the flop to the table, you indicated the player's number.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we report the player's number, or is it a team warning?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Why would you not report the player's number?
All I need is the color. It's a team warning.
Okay, well, but what if we argue, well, who did it?
Well, that's a question for the coach, from the coach. And he's going to say, what do you do? Well, 23, flopped, embellished the contact. I have a warning for him. Move on.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. They say report. First off, the coach is supposed to know the number. I believe that's the procedure. And you're telling the table because they need to know who did it and when it was done. So if it happens again, well, then they argue, well, wait a minute. Number 3 did it in the first half with 1:36 on the clock. And now we're calling a technical because number 5 did it with 4:26 in the fourth quarter.
Yes, that's
report the number.
Right, but that's 2 on the same team. That is a technical foul.
I understand that.
It's not based on the player.
But then what if they're debating with you later who did it? I don't remember him doing that.
So,
Number
so
3 is the one who
Yeah,
did
so
that.
Josh, this is just for clarification, in case something may come up down the line, that we have proof that, this player did that, this player did that. It's not, no, it's not, it doesn't constitute us having a technical foul on the second one. It doesn't matter. But just to avoid any kind of conflict, if we have any kind of, disagreement with the coaches, that'll help us out.
and
Absolutely.
more importantly, this is something when we talk about our score table. This is something I think that we need to be more mindful of when we have our pregame, to remind them when they're documenting information to document all the information that goes along with it. So, a lot of times we'll just say, in this case, like Josh is bringing up, oh, it's just a flop warning against White. Okay, well, White who? Because if we do have a situation, let's say later on in the fourth quarter or third quarter or whenever, later on down the line, and they're like, hey, there's no warning against us. Well, yeah, we gave a warning. Well, what did they do? So this is the reason why we want to document the player number in a situation like this. So that way we'll know White 15, first quarter, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left on the clock. We gave a flop warning. That is a team warning by rule. Yes, Josh, we get that. That is a team warning. But we want to make sure we have that number in the book, because in case there's a discrepancy, we'll know who committed the violation or the offense.
Because you are not going to remember.
The same with the delay of game.
Right.
Number
Delay of
15,
game.
delay the game. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
And
if
I
you
even
say
go as
the
far
number,
as,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I even
Go
go as
ahead.
far as when I call the 3 seconds, even though we don't have to report that, I yell out the number who actually did, in case the coach like, who did what? They already know.
And it's just a good rule of practice, because now you're communicating, and the coaches realize that that you're communicating the correct information. So even if there is a discrepancy, or even if your partner may be near the coach later on in the game, and you may make a call, and they're like, well, what's your partner got? Well, the first quarter we had a violation on White 15. This time we got a violation on White 25. Now we can explain that. And it keeps down confusion with coaches, because coaches will try to use any ammunition they can to try to fight for a win, or to gain some form of an advantage. So we want to be able to make sure that we are on the same page as a crew, knowing that we documented that information, and that the table has that information documented in the scorebook. Antonio, you got your hand raised?
What's that?
Yeah, Coop. And this just popped in my head as everybody was explaining that, no set of violations, whether it's travel or 3 seconds, ever leads to anything more than just possession, turnover of the ball. But given a warning is a first step to a possible technical afterwards. And that would be why we want to report who and what point of the game. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Because we do not want to have any confusion later. Because believe it or not, there are warnings that we give. Like if they step over the line or whatever, I want to tell them it's that player, so that when we have a technical foul later and it's the same player, then there's no dispute. But I have called warnings where well, wait a minute, I don't even remember the warning. So that's why we have to report those warnings to the table, and we have to be verbal about it. Don't just be like, hey, I got a team warning. No, I have a warning for reaching across the plane of the throw-in, blah blah. It's number 15. Like, you want to be very specific so that they have all the information.
And make sure that the scorekeeper is writing it in the book. That's another thing that I've been noticing has happened. The officials are giving a warning, but the person at the table may not be writing that information in the book, and that can come back and hunt us. So it's our job to make sure that you see them writing that information in the book, even if you have to take an extra second and say, "Hey, did you write that warning on White 23? For delay of game warning? Did you write that in the book?" You'd be surprised. Some of them don't even write it in the book. So just for making sure we have a good game flow, make sure they write that in the book.
And the other thing about those warnings too, the warning doesn't have to be the same warning. It could be the water is on the floor, the court's not ready, compared to knocking the ball out of bounds or knocking it away from the team that's doing the throw after a made basket. So they could be 2 different warnings. So that also helps you, because the coach might say, well, that's not the same warning. Well, in our game, it doesn't matter. A warning, the only other warning that is separate is the Flop warning. Flop warning has no relation to those other 5 warnings, but the other warnings are tied to each other once we give the first one, because we have to give a technical foul for the next one.
And that's
And
something
we may not even know as a crew. There have been times where there have been warnings given, and the crew did, like, I didn't know that you gave a warning. So that's another reason. Don't assume your crew knows it, because your crew may not know what you get, or might not hear you.
part of our responsibility is communication, not just to the table and the coach, but also to our partners. That's the most important thing, is making sure our partners know what we have.
Especially so that they can know how to proceed the next time something happens. So, again, just food for thought. Now, here's another flop situation. Again, I just like to show these because I think this is a newer rule, and there seems to be a lot of confusion on these.
Jeff, we got Jeff Jewett on the call too, in case you want to have him chime in on anything.
Okay, just watch this. Is there contact? Yes. Is it a lot of contact? No. And I will say this, as a guide, if the contact is a 1 or 2, but they make it look like it's a 8 or 9, that's probably an indication that they might be trying to fool you, which is really the basis of the rule. It's a faking being fouled is a fool the referee play. That's the origin of it. It's not just falling. I'm trying to make it look like something that it isn't. And let me make it look like he ran me over when he really didn't run me over. So they called the warning. Any questions about that?
Any questions about flopping at all, or faking being fouled? Antonio?
All right. So, okay. So my thing, and I've always gone by this, although it isn't really a necessary thought. That defensive player did not even attempt to make a play on the ball or for the ball. Now, I know you don't have to. You could stand there all 4 quarters and do nothing. But to me, part of my determination there is that he made no attempt to try and play that ball whatsoever. And that's going to factor into my total decision on whether that's a flop or not. Not the only factor, but definitely a factor.
So is that the reason you would call a flop, you meaning, or just clarification?
I'm saying that would be one of the reasons I would call a flop there.
Okay.
One of them. It's one factor, not the only factor. He doesn't have to do anything, but he's certainly just not playing basketball either, trying to steal the ball, make a play on the something, try to get in his way a little bit. He's just standing there and just falling back.
And then the other factor of this too, guys, is that this is a difficult one to call a block on. Because if we call a block, what might we have to do with this basket? We might take it away. So we don't want to do that unnecessarily. Now, continuous motion, there's some other factors to that, but they're all not this close. But if, let's say, that happens at the top of the key and he throws it and we call a block for a flop, not a block, just because it's a block, we may be taking away an easy basket. So in this case, the basket changes. And as a matter of fact, I showed this on something, and somebody tried to say, well, they didn't count the basket. They did. The score bug was just incorrect. They counted the basket. They didn't call anything. Matter of fact, the announcers, who are kids, thought it was a player control foul or an offensive foul.
And since you brought that up, that's a great topic, because I know we do see some plays where, not in relationship to a flop, but the player's trying to avoid the defensive player, and they may make contact with the shoulder or the upper chest, but not directly, head on to the chest. The offensive player doesn't make, head on contact chest to chest. The rule talks about the torso. So we need to understand that the shoulders, or the upper part of the shoulders, the area that I'm kind of touching here, is still considered part of the torso. So just because a player, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but just to be mindful of it, just because a player's, I'm trying to avoid the defensive player by going around them, but I still make contact with their shoulder area or their upper chest, that still can possibly be considered an offensive foul by rule.
Yes, it could.
By rule. So don't think that that's always a block because the offensive player tried to go around the defender, even though the defender's there first. And I'm only talking about when the defender's there, in legal guarding position, and the offensive player is trying to go around and they hit that shoulder, and then a lot of times we'll call a block. That's not always a block, and we need to be mindful of that.
But the key to a flop is there's some judgment, but we have to decide if they are embellishing what would maybe normally be incidental contact. Previously, before this rule, I probably would not have called a thing, and most officials who have seen a lot of plays probably wouldn't call anything on this. So this is not something that we would have interjected. Now, because of the flopping, and I'm going to say this too, the fact that this happens a lot, if we call more flops, this stuff will stop. Part of the reason they keep doing it because they benefit from it. We don't see the whole play. We maybe even call a charge on this. There are some people who call charge on this kind of contact. Not saying other types of contact. That this he barely touches him, so he's embellishing what might be very much incidental contact.
Okay.
But we have to be mindful of that. I just think we need to call more of these. I see more officials say, well, I don't know what to call. Well, I'd almost sometimes rather you call something than nothing. Because we either call a block, call a charge, call something, call a flop, but don't just let these plays go when there's a player that's maybe even embellishing it a little bit. And again, you can tell by some of their actions. Just watch enough plays. You'll see that happen. Okay.
I mean, since you mentioned that, before you go to your next play, I'm just show a quick picture of the torso. Just something to know. Got this from IAABO. If you can see the screen, this is just what I'm talking about. A lot of times we'll just think, oh, the contact wasn't dead on in the center of the chest, but all of those areas are still considered part of the torso. Again, use your judgment, if the defender is in legal guarding position when the play happens. But this is something we need to just kind of maybe imagine this picture in our minds when we're looking at the contact, when we're officiating these plays, to make better decisions, so that we're not always penalizing that legal guarding defender with a block when that person's been there and the offensive player initiates contact on the torso area.
So with that being said, Coop, Jeff, if the player like A or B1 wouldn't have embellished being hit, would you have called an offensive foul?
If he maybe say that
If
I
he
heard some
didn't-
background noise, I apologize. I'm trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at a braiding shop.
Okay.
If he did not embellish, do the flop, would you have called something or just nothing?
Well, and again, this is also the judgment part. If you feel like he was trying to take a charge and maybe missed him, or he missed him in some way, I mean, you can no call that. That is possible. So I don't know that I would have called anything, but I think the fact that we have the flop warning, if I can do something to stop them from doing that, because I'm gonna say this, guys, to you as well. The more if we don't call something or do something with these, they're gonna continue to do it until it, and then they're gonna do it on plays where they really should get the call, and then we're not gonna believe them. So we need to get it out of their head to stop doing these things. So that's a tough one. I don't know that I would have called anything on that particular play, because I think he's kind of he's trying to get the call, but he's kind of leaning out of the way. I had no problem with the flop call. Again, I wasn't on this game. I told the official afterwards what I thought about the play. I thought he did a good job with it, but they didn't have any other kind of plays like that the rest of the game. And you'd be amazed how sometimes we just blow the whistle on certain plays They stop doing certain things. Period. So, all right, moving on to the next play, and this is kind of goes into the block charge kind of realm. Now, this is not a flop. I'll make that clear. But is this defender legal? Now, all that is required is that the defender be in legal guarded position before he leaves the air. And this
Was it
this kind
going slow on purpose? Okay, now like it's on. Okay.
That's
So
a charge.
before he goes to the air, he just has to be in a legal guarded position. Now, if he doesn't go airborne, he has to have 2 feet on the floor facing the defender. Now, I want to make this clear because I see too many people talk about this. Facing does not mean I have to be square or perpendicular. Facing means that basically I'm not having to turn around to look at you. So we stop penalizing defenders because they're not perfectly square. Okay. And then also the other part of this is because this is high school, we don't have a restricted area. So there's nothing to determine that this is a block because he's in the restricted area. And I really hope they never bring that rule into place in high school because there's so many complicated. It also, restricted area applies to a secondary defender, which is a very specific definition at the other levels. I don't know that we want that rule because now we got to make other decisions about whether it's a primary defender versus secondary defender when we have these type of plays. But in high school, we have no such rule. So him being under the basket should not be a factor. Where he is as long as he's on the floor and not out of bounds, he's in a legal guarding position as long as he did the other things to start legal guarding position. Jamila, were you about to say something?
No, actually, this is Wanda Norris. Hey everybody. Listen, so I mean, based on this angle, like, do you guys have another angle? Because like part of my concern with this call is White 21, I believe it is, who's behind the shooter. So do we know if there was contact from that player who was actually the primary defender?
Well,
Because he's
unfortunately,
on his
because this is
back
high school,
and
we will not have another angle. So but that's another good point of seeing the whole play and knowing why everything took place. Because you're right, you're saying this defender behind him, does he make contact with that shooter? Correct.
exactly.
We don't have all them angles you have at your other games, Miss Norris.
I'm sorry, who's this?
This is him.
That's Mr. Williams.
Right. Nothing from the peanut gallery, please.
We looking for. We have to decide: am I the lead?
So
am I the trail?
that's my question.
No,
That's
am
my
I
question.
the lead? Am I the trail or am I the seed? And then that would help determine what we're gonna do with this play. Whatever position you decide you go do, because it looks like only one person had a foul, which was the lead.
No, yeah, but that my question remains. That's my question because he asked, was he in position, and then he could have been in position like not facing him head on, but when he was airborne, he was in position. But my concern is from the angle I'm looking at is that primary defender is my question.
Well, I think that,
wait, Jeff, let me answer something, and then you can jump in. It looks like he got around the primary defender, and the person that's taking a so-called offensive foul is the secondary defender, and it looks like the C is looking at two people there. He don't know what he see, and the trail is just out there. That's my answer.
Well, I would say this. The primary defender is a part of this play because there's a possibility that he could push or foul or do something while the defender is driving and he's beat. So, and I would say this, we talk about this in football, like look for the player that has the brick in their hand and the player that has a brick in his hand to some extent is the defender who got beat and is a primary defender. So we cannot ignore that player. That is a very good point. We cannot ignore that player because that player could have pushed or could do something related. But if they don't, then we have to still decide on whether this contact is legal guarding position by number 23. And if you look at the play, he appears to be planted before the player. Now, planted is not his requirement. I'm just saying that because people love to talk about how he isn't set, or he isn't this, or he isn't that. In high school, all that was required is that he be in a position before the player goes airborne. Now, I want to also talk about this. Doesn't mean his feet have to be planted completely, because he looks like he might shift his right foot a little bit. That doesn't change his position. His basic position is still the same. So if he gets hit in the chest and the torso, like we just talked about, then the only issue is, was he there before the player went airborne? And it appears he went there before he got airborne. Now, yes, the primary defender can also be observed, and then we have to make a determination about the primary defender making contact too. Now, let me also invoke this, because I know guys and gals are gonna read the casebook, and you're gonna see a potential play that might talk about a foul before a block charge, and then there's a block charge, and what we might have a false double foul. I'm only invoking that because there were people that will argue that we could have 2 fouls on this play. I will say this: that's probably not a good career move. Call 1. So if you do have a foul on the primary defender, don't call a foul on the shooter because he was airborne and he was in legal guard. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself, because now you got to explain something that is totally going to be messed up. But there is a casebook play that talks about that, and I don't mind if somebody else wants to talk about that. I'm just throwing that out there because I have had people try to question that ruling.
No, we don't want to talk about that. Let's go to the next play.
I want to talk about something.
Go
ahead. There's a point there. Look at the C. Tell me what the C is doing.
He's on a coffee break.
The C?
Tell me what the C is doing. When it's played, when everybody's on the floor, what is the C doing?
West Side?
What is the C doing? This is what you should do after every time somebody hits the floor. You should be standing there watching people, not just out there doing something you ain't got no business. You need to be watching people. Watching people.
Why should they be watching people?
Because that ball is dead and people are on the floor and things can get crazy.
Preventative.
What you're saying, Tracy, them players may not take kindly to being on top of each other.
That is correct. And that's why the C is doing what the C supposed to do. He ain't had no play. He ain't had no ball. He didn't have no whistle. So he's doing the next best thing is being the police. That's all he's doing.
You said the C or the trail?
I said what I said.
The C.
The C.
It looked like, to me, it looked like the C with right up behind the backboard to get the ball, and it had nothing to do with them. People on the
floor. That's what I'm saying.
The trail. My fault. The trail.
Right, that's why I asked you.
Because the C didn't have nothing to do. He ain't looking at nobody. He trying to get to the ball.
Right.
He ain't stopped. He ain't did nothing. He just trying to get to the ball.
So
The trail. I apologize. The trail.
Remember, when we had a 3-person crew, when the calling official is going to report, the other 2 officials have to be the police monitors at that point. They have to watch those bodies, make sure we don't have any illegal activity going on, make sure the players are safe. Nobody's doing anything that they're not supposed to do. That's important. That's part of our responsibility. That's every dead ball situation. Doesn't matter. If it's a 2-person crew, then the non-calling official, you're watching those players. until the calling official finish reporting their information to the table and is ready to, to return to play. That is important. That's just as much as important as getting the call right, because we don't want to have problems in our games.
And I was taught when I was coming up, we would freeze our eyes, not necessarily our position. So and then again, I don't know if he's looking at the players, talking about the center, or he's not looking at the players, but we can go to the next position, but we need to be paying attention to players, regardless. So just because, I don't care about that ball right now. I only care about, I might come to those players just to show my presence, because I want them to know I'm standing right there. So if you about to do something stupid, I'm going to see you doing something stupid. So that's kind of what another thing I would do. I would be doing what he's doing. I might be paying more attention to the players, or you would see my head is down at them. And I might even be using my voice to kind of let them know, hey guys, good play, something to kind of let them know I'm right here. So if you decide you want to throw an elbow or kick him, I got you. And if you do that throughout the game, they know that, okay, I can't do anything extra. Now, there was nothing contentious in this game, so this wasn't that kind of game. But you never can take that for granted, because it could just, all it takes is one time. And look even what has happened. The one player falls on his teammate, he falls on his leg. Now they think somebody did something wrong. He might even react in a way that seems aggressive because he's hurt. So we got to pay attention to all of that. We can't take this play off. When the ball becomes dead, we got to become alive. That's the thought process. Because once he goes to the table, he can't, the call official can't look at the players. Now, the other thing too is he could maybe stay there a little longer. I don't even have a problem if he did that, because he doesn't need to be in a hurry to get there. He needs just to make sure them players are good until he knows his partner's got his back, his or her back. But that's an excellent point by Tracy, because we don't want to be like, oh, okay, the play's over, we ain't got nothing to worry about.
What site?
So,
anybody have any questions on this play? Or just the mechanics of what we should be doing and things like that? Because we really want to reiterate, getting the calls right is important, but also making sure we have great dead ball management. Making sure that we don't have any illegal activity happening in those dead ball situations. That's just as important too.
I got a question which is irrelevant to that play.
Go ahead.
Like I was, I caught myself going off earlier about what referees do and don't do. It's abundantly clear that every time the ball goes out of bounds, regardless of if it's just out of bounds, a foul, a violation, on the side, on the baseline, the referees seem to blow their whistle. And I'm trying to figure out why they go that turnover. I'm trying to figure out why. Why do you blow your whistle every time the ball is out of bounds?
Before they administer the throw in?
Yeah. So A is in the front court. The A1 tries to pass to A2. B1 deflects the ball, it goes out of bounds on the sideline. The referee gonna take the ball out of bounds. He gonna blow his whistle before he give him the ball. Why?
Great question. Great question.
Well, tell me why not.
Because it's not a resumption of play. It's not a timeout. It's not an injury. It's not the start of a quarter. And it's not a technical foul. That's why, Mr. Rutledge.
Correct.
I'm asking because you saying the people don't do something, so we need to know why we're not doing something.
And we have new officials on the call that don't know.
Right. We got new officials on the call. We don't know. They don't know why we're doing what we're doing. So you just explain why.
That's why we're on the call.
Absolutely.
So the ball get knocked out of bounds. I'm gonna be the lead official. He'll go to the basket. He get a shot block. It goes out of bounds. It's gonna be taken out on the baseline, and I'm going to miss the throw in, and I'm gonna give him the ball, and I'm gonna say ball, and I'm not gonna blow my whistle. I'm gonna put my hand up and I'm gonna start my 5-second count. But we got officials who get him the ball. Before he get him the ball, they blow the whistle to let everybody know, and now we ready. And that's not the procedure.
Okay.
It's a college mechanic for front court inbounds.
We're not talking about college.
And women's. It's only in women's.
Only
Only
We're
in
not
women's.
talking about women and we ain't talking about the NBA. We're talking about high school.
Now,
This is what will confuse a new high school official that's trying to learn the game because we incorporate college mechanics in high school, and that will throw new officials off.
Correct.
They will.
So let me say this. This is why it's
Who
important.
just said that?
This is why it's important that we read not only the rule book, not only the case book, but you need to read the official's manual. Because what Andrew was just talking about is not in the rule book, it's not in the case book, it's in the official's manual. That's the one book a lot of officials are not reading. And that's why I just showed you the diagram of the last second shot rule. It's in the official's manual, which I suggest all officials get in the habit of reading. Add that to your repertoire. Okay. If you don't have it, you need to get it. Or if you have the IAABO handbook, they put everything right there. It's the same information as the Federation. So again, you need to know the official's manual. Okay. This is from the Federation. IAABO takes that information, just compiles everything all into one book. They put the rule book, the case book, and official's manual all in one book. Either book you read, doesn't matter. But you need to know that protocol. Why is that important? Because we do have a lot of officials that are doing the wrong mechanics at the wrong time. Or again, like it was just brought up, you're doing a mechanic at a different level that's not the same at the high school level. So it's again, something that you have to do individually. You have to study. You have to know what you're supposed to do and why you're doing it based on the Federation requirements, not based on what you see on TV with the college or the pro level. Okay.
But
That's
let me
very important.
also say this part too. There are a lot of things that we do that are not a college, high school, NBA mechanic. They are best practices procedure. And that's one of the reasons you want to read those books, because you want to know if you're doing something that is a best practice versus a mechanic. And what Andrew is talking about is a mechanic. There's actually discussed, and actually, I will even say this as a clinician in the state of Illinois. We discussed this at one point about whether this was something that was okay. Now, the IHSA's position on this, that particular thing is not as pressing as some other things. Now, but I'm just telling you that if you are with an evaluator or somebody that's watching you and you're doing something outside of what those are, you need to know what the differences are. I think that is very important for your growth, because you may be doing something that is not a college mechanic. Women's college does that. Men's college doesn't say. And I'm saying that because I hear people say it's a college mechanic, and there are mechanics that we do at the college, but men's college, that are exactly the same as what that we do at the National Federation level. So for me, I don't have to vary very much on things that we do, because I do almost the exact same things. I do blow my whistle probably more than I need to, but also to keep in mind too, blowing your whistle when there's a delay of some kind is acceptable. So if you're wiping the floor because they had a block charge and the floor's wet, or we have a blood on the floor, something like that, yes, blow the whistle back in and play during that time. But what Andrew's talking about, we have a basic out of bounds. We don't need to blow our whistle to put
That's
the ball
part of the
back.
resumption of play procedure that you just mentioned. Yeah.
So I'm sharing this on the screen because since we're talking about mechanics and the proper mechanics, a lot of officials are not even aware of where the timeout area is on the floor, meaning where can teams be during the timeouts. So as you can see, we already know that the 28-foot line is the coach's box, meaning that the coach can only go between these spaces. For the home team, same thing on the visitors team. That's their space. But when they call a timeout, a team can be anywhere in this dotted, highlighted area on both ends of the court. Why is that important? What if there's a 30-second timeout and the coach is complaining about a call that you or your partners may have, made prior to the timeout? And Do we know where we stand at the 30-second timeout? Anybody know where we stand on the 30-second timeout?
The key.
Okay, top of the key. Okay, we have official here. We have official here in a two-person. Well, actually, a two-person, wherever the ball is going to be out of bounds is where one of the officials would be, and the other official would actually stand here at the top of the circle. Okay, but in three-person, the official that has the ball out of bounds, again, provided it's not anywhere near the timeout areas, would be at the spot out of bounds. So let's say if the ball's going to be out of bounds here, okay, near the score table in the front court. All right. Then the other two officials in a three-person crew will be standing at the top of the key. But again, these are the areas that the teams can actually stand in by rule, which most officials don't know, because we'll see these officials come way out here and we'll say, hey, no, you got to take your team back to the bench. No, they don't, because this is where they can legally stand according to the mechanics of the federation. But we need to know these things. But again, if you're not studying your manual, your officials manual, or in the IAABO handbook, talking about these different areas that we're making points of emphasis on, you won't know these things. And these situations can possibly trip you up, or you and your crew up, because you don't know what's legal and what's not legal, or what's approved and what's not approved. Okay.
And let me say something about a timeout too, because now we have a kind of a new rule or procedure with the timeout with bench personnel. So the one thing is that it's also technically not allowed for them to come all the way across the court, meaning bench personnel, to greet players. So I'm not saying be a stickler for that, but what you want to do before you report any timeout, you want to make sure when these players cross, you are observing this. Because oftentimes they think about when they call timeouts. A lot of times they call timeouts when there's a big play that probably affected the team is calling timeout because they're trying to stop a run. So there's an emotional response. Watch the players as they cross each other, because there might even during the timeout be a player from the opposing team right in front of the bench, and all the players come onto the court and engulf that player. We want to make sure that that player gets out of there or doesn't have a confrontation with a bench personnel on the other team or a coach or anybody. Let them get over there. Observe that. That is not their time to be like, oh, okay, what timeout you want, coach? No, I want to know, are they crossing? Is everybody out of there? Because sometimes we got to go get them out of there. And you want to be able to observe that. And they're technically not supposed to come all the way across the court. Let's say the team on the right, the bench on the right, and there's a big play, and they're technically not supposed to run all the way to the end line or somewhere, which you will see them do. Now, I'm not saying tee somebody up because of this. I'm just saying be aware that's not where they're supposed to be. So if they come out there and do that, you at least know that everybody got back to their benches safely, or at least without confrontation. Then go report the timeout to the table. Don't do that until the players are in kind of in their area. So that's another little thing. And that's a dead ball officiating thing that Tracy was talking about. It's the same thing during the timeout. We want to make sure that players are not getting into it with each other, because I could even show film, I don't have it right now, of a whole brawl that started because of a coach and a player interacted with each other, and they ended up having to eject everybody except for the 5 players on each team on the bench. I mean on the floor. Simply because of during a timeout something went off. So we got to be aware of that.
So visualize this area, guys, and ladies. Visualize this area and be aware of that area, because some coaches, they may be frustrated at their players, and sometimes they may be talking to the player right here, and the rest of the team follow the coach, and they having a timeout huddle right here. By rule, they can be in those spaces. So you just have to know what's legal and what's not legal. Now, to Jeff's point too, if that coach comes out and he's trying to come straight to you or your crew member, no, coach, you got to go back to your timeout area. Now they don't know what a timeout area is, but you want to get them, to go back over there. Or if you're going to have a conversation, go walk over to the bench and have that conversation. But again, if you are going to have a conversation, it needs to be short and concise and straight to the point, not, you having a sit down cup of coffee conversation. That's not one of those situations. So again, just visualize that area again so that we know what the actual timeout area is in case we have situations in games where we need to allow those players to be in those teams to be in that space. Any questions on that?
And I'm a stickler for that part. When a coach wants to argue a play and they want to do it immediately and they're at half court, I immediately shoot them back. Like, we're not doing this here, or I walk them back depending on their demeanor. I might walk them all the way back to the letter. Would say, and I emphasize, I don't talk about what they want to talk about. I emphasize, we're not going to talk. We're not going to be out here. And I'm going to say this because I had a veteran who said this, like, well, what difference does it make if the coach wants to do that? Well, not all coaches are made the same. Some coaches take cues from what you allow other coaches to do. So if you allow a coach to come all the way across the court to talk to you about something, what do you think the other coaches will think that it's okay for them to do? If you don't allow that, what is it? You promote what you permit. So if you allow that to happen, the other coach might do that. And there have been situations where I've even got into it with other officials because they think, well, why won't you talk to him out here? Well, because if I talk to him out here, that other coach who I know is crazy is going to now start doing that. And I don't want to have to deal with that situation. So I don't care if you're nice. We need to talk in front of your bench and use that timeout. And then the other thing we can do too, if you need to talk to a coach, you need to address something kind of in a quiet way. When the first horn goes off, go to the bench and stay there for a little bit. Stay right near the bench and then say, hey, coach, I need to talk to you real quick. And then address what you need to talk to them about. And very quickly, because you don't have a lot of time, because it might be the second horn goes off, we're about to put the ball in play. But don't allow coaches to dictate because they're upset about something where they're going to talk to you. They need to talk in their timeout areas, as Clarence put out there.
I got a question that ain't got nothing to do with none of that. So A1 is shooting a free throw. That means that B1 and B2 are in the first two positions closer to the rim on the free throw, correct?
Yes.
Okay. A don't have nobody on the line. Can B put a player on each side right next to B1 and B2, or does that space have to stay empty? So we got players from B in the first spot and the second spot on both sides and nobody in the third spot. Is that legal?
Yes.
Who said that? Who said it was legal? Oh, now it's quiet.
Somebody say why it isn't legal. Why isn't it not legal?
Come on, guys. We referee.
Wait.
My bad. That was me.
The first person that said it was legal?
That was me.
Say your name.
Dre, DeAndre.
Okay.
That was me.
Okay. That's all. Just I'm asking who said.
Nah, my phone was tripping. My phone was just tripping. They can occupy the spots if the team if team A that shoot the free throws don't want to occupy the other two spots. Team B can put their players in that spot to occupy.
Put it on there. Yeah, no.
Is that right or wrong?
That is right. Now, the only caveat to all of that is they can never be more than 4 defensive players on the lane line or 2 offensive players on the lane line.
Sasha was my person.
You need to go to mute, DeAndre. You got too many people at your party that we can hear.
Right.
So basically, Jeff, what you're saying is they can have them 4 spots right next to each other, but they can't put a 5th person on the line.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. That's I'll just looking for some clarification.
Or the offense can put 2 on the line anywhere if someone doesn't occupy, so they can move around. But the only requirement for the lane line, for just so clarity, because we talked about this I think last week, it has to be in the first block spot has to be 2 defensive players. That is the only requirement. And if nobody else chooses to be on the lane, great. but the breakdown has to be no more than 4 and no more defensive players and no more than 2. And then if players don't take those particular spots, they can move around. And then other than the 2 defensive players on the low block, they got to be on the low block. But that's a good question. It doesn't happen very often, but there are times when you see players try to do things that they don't know. And what ends up happening is that you don't see a lot of offensive players ever be in the other 2 spots. They're always in them second spots. If they're there, that's just what you see. But they are allowed, if the other ones vacate, they can move for whatever reason.
Hey, Jeff, how would you tell a coach that if a coach asks or questions that on a game?
If they were to ask us that,
Right. Because they're not used to seeing things like that. Some of these coaches aren't used to seeing 4 defensive players next to each other on either side.
I would just tell them the rule says that there's no more than 4, no more than 2 if everybody's on there at the same time, and then they can move accordingly. Or otherwise, I don't know that I would even say to move accordingly because, again, since they put that rule in place, which is now we're probably coming on 15 years or close to a little over 15 years for that rule. I don't know that I've seen but one time has anybody ever moved to a different spot.
Right. And I've seen it twice ever.
Right. And so it's not something that comes up, but again, but know the rules so that if it does happen, you just explain it to them. Like, coach, they're allowed to be there because you don't have all the other players in their spot, whatever, try to be as concise about that as possible.
Right. If he don't want somebody there, he can put his player there. If you're not going to occupy that space, they have a right to be in that space. Thank you.
Absolutely. Right.
This video here that I want to show, for those that are IAABO members, hopefully you've seen it, but if not, this is a great opportunity. And this is just a reminder about positioning and making sure that we're in the proper positions, trail center and lead positions, and making sure we get the open angles. We definitely don't want to get straight line, even though we know it's going to happen because the players and the ball are constantly moving. But it's not to accept the straight line perspective of the players. So in other words, we have to work to get the angles to see the plays so that we can get the illegal contacts, the fouls, the kicking off, the player control fouls or the defensive fouls, whatever it may be. We have to get in position. So I want to share this video with you guys.
Before we transition, can I ask some questions about timeouts? I had 2 situations.
Go ahead.
So the first situation has to do with a quick timeout. So team A calls a timeout for a quick sub, but team B is huddling up his team to pretty much fulfill the whole timeout. Should team B pulling their team to the huddle be honored, or should the quick sub timeout be honored and we get right back into play after we get the subs in? Does that make sense? So
I'm a little confused about what you mean by quick.
Yeah, so
I understand what he's asking.
I guess that's the confusion in the terminology. So team A coach, they're coming up the court. They had their subs at the table for a little while, right? And team A coach, he simply calls for a timeout, but a quick timeout for his subs. I just want a quick timeout for my subs.
So just want to make a substitution. That's all.
Correct.
Not use the timeout.
Well, that's the thing. It is technically a timeout, right?
But he doesn't want to huddle up for the timeout. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
So get the subs in.
He just wants his subs in. But
I
can
answer this.
Coop, can I try this one? Coop, Jeff, can I try this one?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So regardless if the coach who calls it only wants a quick sub, but chooses to not want to use the entire 30 or 60 seconds, the other team is entitled to use that time, just not be charged for it. Correct?
Yes.
They can use the time, they're just not charged for it.
But what I would tell the coach, and again, this kind of happened in a state final one time that I happened to be in, and it seemed like it's become wildfire. We have college has a rule where they can do what they call a quick sub. They actually have a signal for it, and you will sometimes see high school coaches indicate that they want the same thing. we have to give them the timeout, or at least report the timeout and give the whole time. If the teams decide not to take it, then we can go. But the indication that I would do is when I've done this before, I just call the timeout. I say, coach, or to the other coach, he just wants to get subs in. Is that okay or whatever? And if they don't put up a fuss and whatever, then we just go. If they decide that he wants to talk to his whole team or she wants to talk to their whole team, and during that time, then we got to give them the allotted time that takes place. But as a and usually I've seen this more during end of game when clearly the outcome is decided, 20, 30 points, we got a minute to go, and they just want to get these kids in because they just want to say so they don't have to listen to their parents. Do everything to let them know that that's what's happening, and usually the other coach will accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's watch this video, and hopefully we can take some notes, and if anybody got any questions, we can talk about it.
This training tape will cover court coverage and positioning. There are 7 plays. Play 1. This play was ruled incidental contact, but when we break down the play, court positioning likely had an impact on the ruling. Beginning with the trail official, his initial starting position begins above the 28-foot mark. From there, he accepts a straight-line position on a competitive matchup in his PCA and doesn't position adjust as the play moves toward the basket. As the play develops, he stays stationary above the 28-foot mark and never closes down toward the end line to improve his angle. This play happens right in front of the lead, but does he get the best angle? He's in the B, closed down position, but doesn't mirror the ball toward the A position when the ball moved toward the sideline. This puts him in a bad position when the play moves toward the basket. Because of that, he doesn't see the start of the drive to the basket. He only sees the tail end of the play. If lead officials get in the habit of moving back to the A position toward the sideline when the ball is wide, it will allow them to see the whole play. Lead officials should maintain their cone of vision toward the lane area, as it will help them identify secondary defenders. In addition, if the lead is wide, it will lengthen the play by allowing the lead to pick up the players earlier when they enter their primary coverage area. In short, this is a reminder that angles contribute to accuracy. This missed ruling may have been the result of poor positioning. Play 2. In this play, white number 14 dribbles into the midcourt area, defended by blue number 12. A screen is set by white number 32, who then rolls to the basket. This is what we call a two-official play, one that requires both the setter and trail to work together. As the dribbler moves into the center's PCA, the center correctly accepts the ball handler-defender matchup with secondary awareness on the screener and defender. Because the dribbler isn't closely guarded early in the play, the center can sequence the play and stay with the screen longer before shifting back to the ball handler-defender when that matchup becomes more competitive. The trail correctly shifts attention to the screening action. Here, the trail's primary responsibility is the screener and defender with secondary coverage of the ball and dribbler. Sometimes ruling on off-ball contact outside your primary coverage area, like the trail does on this play, is needed in screening situations. Both officials work together beautifully to cover the play. Midcourt screens often demand shared coverage, teamwork guided by primary and secondary responsibilities. Ultimately, Two officials sharing one play ensure complete coverage and help officials get the play right. Play 3. In this clip, white number 34 receives a pass near the top of the free throw lane area. The center official adjusts perfectly to get an open look on the matchup. As white number 34 turns and dribbles toward the trail, contact occurs, and both officials sound their whistles. This is a double whistle, and based on where the play occurred, the trail has the primary coverage. The trail had picked up the closely guarded count and had the good angle as the dribbler came into his primary coverage area. However, the trail initially signals with an open palm and most likely was going to rule a traveling violation, but sees the center with a stop-the-clock foul signal with a clenched fist. The trail makes eye contact with the center and then defers to the center, who correctly identifies the blocking foul. Both officials show excellent communication discipline, holding their stop-the-clock signals and making proper eye contact. Double whistles do occur in areas where coverage areas intersect, and generally the official in their primary coverage area should usually take the ruling. In this case, the trail must have sensed the center saw why the ball handler fell to the floor and properly deferred to the center, who stepped in with the correct foul call. That's textbook teamwork, trust, communication, and discipline in action. Double whistles aren't about who blows first. They're about getting the play right. Play 4. The contact on this play was ruled to be legal, which may be an indication the trail may not have seen the whole play. In this play, the trail must stay with the shooter. That is, see the shooter up, see the shooter come down, see the shooter's next move, then turn their attention to the rebound activity. Here, after the three-point try, the trail's eyes appears to shift to follow the ball. Instead of closing down toward the end line, he steps back toward the division line. The shooter appears to land cleanly, then falls, even appearing to hook the defender's arm a bit on the way down. This could have been a flop by the shooter. It could also have been a defensive foul. Regardless of the ruling, if the shooter and defender end up on the floor, officials need to know why. Officials shouldn't rush to get to rebounding coverage, especially in a crew of 3. When the shot starts in your PCA, your focus should stay on the shooter-defender matchup until it's complete. Accuracy begins with discipline, and the eyes need to stay with the shooter. Play 5. Pass crash plays happen fast, and they demand teamwork. In this clip, blue number 3 drives past the primary defender and makes a pass just as a secondary defender steps in, trying to draw a charge. Coverage starts with the direction of the pass. Here, the pass goes toward the center, making the center responsible for the pass itself and any perimeter activity that follows. The contact in the lane, especially when it deals with a secondary defender, is primarily the lead's responsibility. However, if the trail official has the better look, they can take the ruling. In this case, traffic in the lane obstructs the lead's view, and the trail has the best angle to see the entire play. That means the trail becomes the primary on the crash. The key to this play is crew awareness and trust. When the lead recognizes limited vision, they must be patient and rely on the partner with an open look. The trail, for his part, must recognize the situation and be prepared to assist if needed. Because the pass went away from the trail has responsibility to stay with the crash. In situations such as this, they need to be prepared to make the ruling. Proper coverage isn't always about the coverage area. Sometimes it's about angles, teamwork, and doing what it takes to get it right. Play 6. This clip showcases excellent court coverage and rotation mechanics. The trail has an open view and stays with the ball handler-defender matchup in the midcourt area. Once a pass occurs across the basket line, the center assumes coverage of the players above the three-point arc. Once that happens, the trail correctly gives up the ball and shifts their focus to matchups in the lane area. This prevents 4 eyes on 2 players, which is an outstanding display of discipline and awareness. The center initiates a rotation and becomes the new trail. He picks up the dribbler and defender in the midcourt area. The center makes an excellent position adjustment to maintain an open look between the 2 players. As the center moves toward the division line, the lead recognizes the situation and completes the rotation by moving across the lane. This is team officiating at its best: communication, anticipation, and a rotation that keeps every matchup properly covered. All 3 officials demonstrate excellent teamwork and position adjustments, the kind of execution that likely occurred due to a strong pre-game conference. Play 7. In this clip, black number 0 advances into the front court, and this trail official in a crew of 2 makes a great initial position adjustment, creating an open look between the dribbler and defender. When black number 1 receives a pass in the midcourt area, he is in the trail's primary coverage area. Instead of staying engaged with the new dribbler-defender matchup, the trail shifts focus to off-ball activity in the lane area and steps down toward the end line, momentarily leaving the on-ball matchup uncovered. The trail should have worked the arc and moved toward the basket line to get an open look between the defender and ball handler. The lead does an excellent job mirroring the ball and adjusting his position toward the sideline. However, the lead is forced to officiate outside his primary coverage area on this play. The lead does not have a very good view of the matchup, as other players in the lane are obstructing his view. The trail does pick up the player later in the sequence, but because he didn't work the arc, he did not have the best angle, as his view was obstructed by other players in the lane area. This play highlights why proper coverage matters. Most missed rulings come from poor positioning, not poor rules knowledge. As trail in a crew of 2, stay connected to your primary coverage area, be active, and work the arc to get an open view, because good floor mechanics give you a better chance to make accurate rulings. Thank you for watching this training tape.
All right, I know there's 7 plays in there. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Anybody have any questions about anything in the video? Okay. Jeff, you want to go ahead?
Let me show one last play. This kind of goes into that positioning thing.
Okay.
Big East for.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is what we were talking about with open looks. Look at the trail is going to make a call on this play. Okay. This is about open looks. This is basically what this video was talking about. Be in position to see the play. You see this is a drive from the center position going to the basket. And if you look at the lead and the center, do not have an angle on this particular play. Let's show the replay. So primary defender comes up, makes a little bit of contact, kind of affects his shot. Only the trail can get this, and to have a cadence whistle. So you should not have a contact on the initial contact of this play. You should wait to see, wait a minute, that's a foul. Did they got anything? Like, give it time. They ain't called nothing. Okay. They got a foul. So when we talked about this even as a crew, we were like, my partner in the league said, I didn't have a look on that play. I'm glad you came in and got it. I had no idea. So this is what we're talking about, having open looks. You still have to know and have opinions on certain plays that go to the basket and that are in the lane. And it's about angles. It's not about, oh, that's my primary and that's your secondary, so I'm going to leave it alone even though it's an obvious foul. Because it's an airborne shooter, just slight little contact, kind of bumps him, probably prevents him from getting it up to the basket. That's a foul.
Tim has a question about play 7. He's asking about what is working the arc. So basically in this play here, the trail, this is a 2-person crew, by the way. So you got the trail here and the lead down here. So let me see if I can go back to the beginning of this play. Yeah, so here, as you see, okay, he's got a good open look here, but once the ball goes across, he steps down and now he's blocked his open view. So what they're saying is he should have worked the arc by coming back towards maybe take a step or two on the court to see that center, the drive to the basket. So instead of stopping here, he should have stepped over, maybe take a step or two on the court to see that player go to the basket to see if there was any illegal contact, is what they mean by working the arc. So that's what that terminology means, work the arc from the trail position. This is primarily something that we do a lot in 2-person. It can happen in 3 a little bit, depending on the play, but it mostly happens in 2-person situations. I hope that answers your question.
In 2-person, the trail actually has the arc and the line extended, so you should stay with it.
Correct. See, I think I have a diagram of it so you can kind of see what we're talking about.
I was gonna ask in that video, Coop, would you have just stopped at the white line and then stepped onto the court in that situation? Since the players don't have the ball anymore, and the pass went to the other 3-point arc, and it's a 2-man crew, would you just stop at the white when you already walking down? Would you just stop at the white line, and then step onto the court?
You mean stop at the 28-foot mark?
Yes.
So you gotta. It's kind of tough to say that only because yes, the trail we want the trail at the 28-foot mark, but because he had 2 players in front of him, and as he was moving down to the 28-foot line, the players were moving in front of him. You'd have to take a step around the players to kind of get to see that drive to the basket. So you may not want to go all the way to the 28-foot. Again, it kind of depends on your movement and how fast you can move.
And I was saying that, matter of fact, where that white volleyball line was, like he could have stopped right there as he's seeing them take 2 steps and they not even engaging into anything on the off ball. Like he could have stopped at the white volleyball line and then stepped onto the court. That's what I was saying, too.
Well, the arc is also to the circle.
Put the young head at the
The
ball.
arc is as far as the
Right.
circle.
And the
So
boy
if
gets trapped.
he's above
And
the 3-point line and above free throw line extended, like he's on that wording over there, he could be as far as the right near the circle if he has to come out and look at that play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's like, so if, run it just a little bit, like, stop right now. So he could technically come all the way out to the circle, to the edge of the circle to kind of look at that play. And obviously, where the players are can mean something too. But if they come down and that ball stays over there, that gives him a good look. And it also tells his partner that I'm on that play. So he doesn't, so the lead doesn't have to be like, okay, what's going on over there? He's not looking at it. Is anybody looking at it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So if he's somewhere in this space here with an arrow, if you can see my arrow, I don't know, can you guys see the arrow on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if he was somewhere in this space here, now he can clearly see that drive to the basket, but he also can still officiate these players and these players down here as well, if need be, because the ball is going to the basket. So the good thing with the ball going to the basket, it's going to draw all the players towards the basket. So it kind of helps his vision, his cone of vision get better because those players are going to gravitate either towards the ball or towards the basket. So that way he has a good position. But that's what they mean by working the arc. So you'd be kind of going from here when that ball is opposite on two-person, kind of what it is now. And then let's say if black passed the ball back to this player, now you just have to work your way back around to the sideline to get between the two players, kind of like where he is now. So that means you gotta work that arc position, is what they're saying.
Great All right, got you.
Great question. All right. Anybody else got any questions about anything before we I know y'all probably watching the Bears as we doing this meeting anyway. So.
Before we adjudicate to the Bears game, let's adjudicate.
Yeah. But anybody got any last minute questions or anything before we depart?
This is the part that really kills me because it's a lot of people on this call. It's a lot of people who had games this weekend or last week and don't have no questions about anything that they did in the game, whether it was good or bad. That's the part that kills me. This might be my last meeting, but thank you for having me. God bless you and good night.
Good night. Thank you. All right. So again, if you guys got any questions, feel free to reach out to us. For those that are not IAABO members, again, we strongly encourage you to do so. The video that I just showed you was one of the many videos that they share that would be in your video library that you can use to go back and study these materials and this information as often as possible. So thank you guys for being on the call. Jeff, you got any final words? Tracy, any final comments, words, or anything?
Go ahead, Tracy. If Tracy paying attention.
West Side?
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thank you guys.
All I will say is Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you have a happy holiday. I guess we can stay on for a little bit for everybody that, do a little after party thing. If we have any other type of questions that will not be recorded, those type of things. So, but I hope everybody has a good.
Yeah, I got
break.
a potential delay of game question.
Then that's fine. Go ahead and ask.
While we're still recording.
Now or later?
Still recording.
Oh, now okay. So had a situation recently. Had a player foul out. So the situation is A1 is fouled out and a sub is requested. But during this time lapse, the coach brings his team over to him. But then while the coaches, and there's also foul shots that's supposed to be had as well for that last foul. Team B right after brings his team over, but the official is simply just saying, "Hey, bring the sub out." So as the official is trying to request from the coach to bring the sub out, pretty much what's going on right there? It's pretty much a delay of game that's happening right there. It's like a tactic, right? where a player is fouled out, a coach thinks they can use this time as like a timeout, but it's really not. So I'm just more so asking for clarity. I can
Okay, I'm
always
gonna
repeat the.
let me speak first. Before I give you an answer, I want you, Mr. Adjudicator, to tell me what is the procedure for a person that has just fouled out. Go.
You have 15 seconds to replace the player.
Wrong. I got a person that fouled out. The first thing I'm gonna do is let number 15 know, 15 White, that is 5 fouls on you. You are disqualified. The second thing that I'm gonna do is go to White's bench and say, Coach, 15 White has fouled out, and now I'm gonna go to the table and tell him, give me 15 seconds. That's what I'm gonna do. If he wanna get his team over to the bench, White or Red, and have a timeout, he got 15 seconds. It's not a delay of game. And he don't have to sub until they blow that horn at the end of the 15 seconds and say, we need a sub. Hopefully I answered your question.
Well, let me clarify something you said.
Go ahead.
We tell the coach first, not the player.
So however you want to do it.
Well, the reason this is important is because we tell the coach, what does that make the player? Bench personnel. So that means everything that they do after that, cuss you out, call you names, accuse another player of something, we got them as a technical foul as a bench player. So I'm gonna go coach first.
I'll go with that. At the same time, I can still get my team over to this bench and have a timeout for 15 seconds.
I agree, but I'm just saying that's an important.
And I can't call delay a game on them because they over there stalling them to sub this player in.
That is absolutely true. 15 seconds.
Okay. Go ahead.
And there's supposed to be a horn at 15, the start of it. And then when the 15 seconds runs out, there's supposed to be another horn. And he or she better have a sub coming right to the table.
They better be at the table.
Be at the table.
I actually agree with that. I'm just saying they better be doing something more than their horn
standing
goes
there.
off and nothing's going on. Just sitting
They're
there.
just standing there trying to figure out who's gonna come in the game. You're right.
Okay.
That's my
point. So then to the extreme of that, coach delays after 15 seconds, then that's a technical foul.
Yes, sir.
Is it a technical foul or is it delay a game?
Technical foul.
Technical foul.
Okay. Technical foul.
Okay.
For not having the sub ready.
Right, because the 15 seconds is technically the warning, so to speak. Unofficial.
I'm on. Can you go for? I got you.
Yeah, so that's a technical foul if they don't have that player at the table for the substitution at the end of the second horn. But what Andrew is talking about, again, I've stressed this before, and not saying this in regards to you directly, Demetrius, but just saying in general, we need to know our officials manual. We need to know our protocols of what we should and shouldn't do in certain situations and what's legal according to the federation. That's important, or to the IHSA or whatever, school district you're working for. You need to know those rules because that's important. If we don't do it the right way, then we can get penalized for that. So we don't want to be out there kicking rules or mechanics or procedures. We want to make sure that we study those manuals, study the manual, so that way you know what you're supposed to do and adjudicate it in the proper order.
And a preventive way to prevent that, just insist to coach, I need a sub. I need a sub. I say it the whole time. I need a sub. No, don't talk. I need a sub. Do what you can to prevent it, because I don't want to have a discussion with the other coach that that 15 seconds ran out and now I got to give a technical and I don't.
I think this particular coach was using it as a tactic. How he was acting, it seemed like he was very much so trying to use it as some form of delay.
That could be true because some coaches will try to do that.
And that's why you still emphasize to them, coach, I need a sub. Coach, I need a sub. Coach, I need a sub. Like, do what you can, because once that 15 seconds runs out, then it's a technical foul.
And if you have a table that's not used to blowing the horn in those situations, request that they hit the horn when they're supposed to hit the horn. Absolutely. Request that. Hey, table, do me a favor. I need you to hit the horn right now. They'll hit the horn. Okay, cool. 15 seconds. 15 seconds is up. Okay, I need you to hit the horn again. You have to let some of them know because some of them don't know what the protocol is. But you need to follow that protocol because again, everybody got a camera. And if that situation happens to get irate or whatever, or your signer sees it, or somebody's looking to maybe hire you for the next level, I don't know, it's just anything. At least they know that you know protocol and you know how to follow what's in the mechanic book.
Okay. And who's the technical foul go to?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a direct. That's a direct to the head.
Are you sure?
Yes.
And what's the consequences after that?
Coach loses his privilege. Two shots in the ball at the division line for the offended team.
So I'm gonna give you a quick story. Similar situation happened to me probably up a decade ago. Coach didn't have a sub at the table, and I kept doing just what Jeff said. Please bring me a sub to the table, coach. Sub to the table. Had to do the first horn. When I, told him the player was disqualified, gave him the 15 seconds. Coach, I need a sub. I need a sub. I need a sub. Coach was procrastinating. Second horn, I administered the technical foul, and he looked at me like, "You actually gonna give me a technical foul?" Yes, because I've asked you several times. Both horns went off according to the federation, according to the rule. Everything, the proper procedures was followed. He tried to complain and talk to the signer about it. The signer said, "Clarence followed the rule." The horns went off, which was your warnings. That's why they want the horn to go off, because they know the coaches want to try to have sidebar conversations. So they want to act like, "Well, I didn't hit the horn." Well, I'm sorry, but the horn went off. So we did everything by the book. Me and my partners, we made sure everything was done by the book to handle that situation. And again, you just never know who's watching. So, you want to follow the protocol. He had to sit for the remainder of the game. And so after the game, he was in the locker room and he came. We had to change in his gym office because he was also the athletic director. And he was just like, "You actually gave me a technical foul for that?" I said, "Coach, I followed the rules." I said, "Now you just hurt your team because you had to sit for the remainder of the game." And this is just a little side note. Most coaches don't coach very well sitting down. So that was on him. But you got to follow the rules so that way you know that you're justified in what you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Was your question adjudicated properly?
Yes, by everyone but you.
Well, no, actually, no. He did.
No. Wait a minute.
He did answer your question.
No, he said it was adjudicated by everybody properly except for me. I'm gonna remember that the next time I got some assignments. No problem.
All right, everybody. Well, thank y'all for being on the call. We're gonna call it a night. Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe. We'll see you in the new year. You guys take care.
Stay healthy.
Jeff, did you read your messages I sent you on the chat?
What's that?